Like that 808 just needs to basically be clipping and in front. I want to sound just like bang, bang, bang.
I spent the day with Kashmir, and in this video, he shares everything that went into one of his latest hip-hop tracks.
I got a vocalist on Fiverr.
Do you do that a lot?
I'm on Fiverr all the time. I use this world suite on this track. I'm using this pan pipe. You just have to have a little bit, just a little width, just a little high end, and all of a sudden that section feels big.
Wait. That was amazing.
Yeah?
That was so good.
So yeah, this is a track from the new album, Karam. I co-produced this with Lost Stories, who are my good friends who have been producing for a long time in the scene in India.
Love Lost Stories.
Yeah, they're awesome. We did that Bombay Dream song together, and it's got a great feel. It's got like an almost Godfather kind of feel. There's a lot of cool stuff happening with the swam instruments. I love these because they are somewhere in between a sampler and a synth. They give you all the flexibility of a synth, but they sound like real instruments. And with the CCs, you can just do so many cool things with them. You can control flutter tongue here, you see. You've got like growl, you got valve speed, just all this cool stuff that you can automate to get a really, really authentic sound. So you see me using that throughout this project. I do it on the flute. There's like a little melody hidden in this beat, just like a little sprinkle, because I'm such a melody addict. This, what you're seeing over here, is what I like to do. Instead of going into MIDI clips, I create these automatable macros that control CCs. There we go. So yeah, this is like a little ditty at the end. Real sexy little ditty there at the end, and that is the swam flute, and I'm controlling the expression, which is like the air that the flutist will be blowing into it, and the mod for the vibrato. And oftentimes I just hit this little plus button because I know I'm going to be working with these so much as I'm writing the melody. And this way I get a picture of how the expression is going up here and how the vibrato is kind of going up along with it. I also love in the swam stuff that you can, based on the velocity, control how quickly or slowly they go into the next note. So you can get a really slow glissando effect or an immediate note change based on the velocity. So yeah, Contact is obviously a great, that's the go-to, but there are a few that people don't use as much, and UVI Workstation is one. I use this World Suite 2 from them all the time, and on this track I'm using these pan pipe. You even get a harmony here.
Wow.
Just like a last chorus kind of thing. So on the first chorus, it's pretty mellow. And then on the second chorus, the way that I build it up a little bit is I got a vocalist on Fiverr to lay that same melody down. And where did I put her vocals back there?
A vocalist from Fiverr?
Yeah.
Do you do that a lot?
I do that all the time.
Really?
Yeah. So on the Sounds of Kashmir packs, there are multiple times where I'm just like, I can't whistle. I need some whistles. So I go on Fiverr, or a ukulele guy. I found a great ukulele guy. Yeah, I'm on Fiverr all the time.
Wow.
And seriously, guys, if you're like, I have the same issue where I'm just like, I'll just do it. I'll just do Contact. I'll play the guitar myself, blah, blah. But when you get somebody to play it, it's so authentic. It sounds so nice. And
yeah.
Sure, I could have gotten a vocal patch that's like, like a little choir or something. But it's going to be better if you just put in a little effort. And Fiverr's super affordable. It's usually like $40 or something. I got her to do this. Yeah, so it adds this nice little texture. And I'm so specific with I still want the control as if it were a Contact instrument. So sometimes what I'll do here is I will basically create a couple of things that help me control her dynamics. One is just a simple volume automation. So I'm kind of controlling her as if she had sang it with a bit more up and down expression. Without it, it sounds like this. It's a bit constant in volume.
Yeah.
And then with the added, so I'm doing that by a little volume automation. By the way, I find that the utility is the best way to automate volume, but the range is so much that you have to move it just a little bit if you want to get a couple dBs. So what I did is I created a little macro thing like this, a little grouped effect rack, and I have a small gain, which has a range of only 20 dB, and then a big one in case I need to make bigger, and then just width and pan. And I put that on every track. So every time I start a new audio track, it just has that automatically. And then the other thing to control the expression of it is I have a fab filter here, and I made a little effect track that I use called Tame Highs and Lows. A filter is gonna be too extreme here. If you open and close a filter, it's just gonna sound unnatural. But if you do a shelf, I find that sounds more natural, and if I'm working with an organic sound, I try to avoid using filters at all, and I instead use shelves like that. On her voice also, I'm running the Magma from Waves, which I've been liking, just to add a little bit of that like tube coloration, and I wanted her to be really reverby, so I did a vintage, Valhalla vintage for the longer reverb, and then for a brighter reverb, I did this Pro R. Yes, and look, I don't know why I use 2 reverbs sometimes. I do it. It's a thing. I do. I don't know if it's the right thing, but yeah, I do it.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
When you start a song, when you start a beat, whatever, is it drums, chords, or melody first?
I guess for me, melody is where the picture of the song starts coming together, more so than drums. So almost always melody, to be honest with me. Unless I find a drum loop I think is really cool, and then I try to do something, that happens occasionally, but, I look at drums as, and I don't want to be reductive here, but there's only so many drum patterns, it's really going to come down to your melody. I'm not saying drums don't have infinite, different ways you could do them. Of course they do, but when you think about a song, I don't think typically the first thing you think about is the drums in terms of the motion you tie to it and everything. That's generally my take on it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the drums?
Yeah, of course. Drums are very simple in this one. So we've got an 808 down here, and this is just a nasty big. So I'm playing it with a sampler, and the kick is what really gives it the punch and a clap. So everything is very clean. As I start adding it all together, you're gonna see here, maybe that's the verse, so the chorus will have a little more going on.
Wow. I mean, it's super clean, but it's also hitting so hard.
Yeah, just a little, here's some hi-hats. The more stuff you add, the less space you've got. And not saying that it's not more. I mean, down here I've got some percussion and stuff. But I found coming from doing dance music for so long into hip hop, I had to almost get more ghetto with my mindset. Like that 808 just needs to basically be clipping and in front, and the instruments are mix-wise much lower, and then the vibe is there. Because I was mixing it like a dance track where everything's really beefy and squashed, and the vibe wasn't right. It didn't feel like hip hop. If you look at a lot of great hip hop beats, the dynamics are just quite a lot of dynamics. I mean, you've got the kick really sitting nice. It's allowed to have its transient, it's big. And then in between, if you just look at the instrumental, everything is quite low and you got a lot of space, and you're picking just a few things to really be in front. And then the musical stuff is quite low, and there's a lot of space for the rapper, and nothing's competing. There's oftentimes the drums are just decidedly louder than everything. And even sidechain, I was so accustomed to sidechaining the hell out of everything. Now, with my kick, I'm doing a little bit on the 808, and I use laser laser I like, it's really tight. It'll take the trigger from your audio, but only the transient. So it's taking the trigger from this kick, but just a really quick transient. And then here you get to decide the release of it, how much you want to go down, how much you want it to hold, how much you want it to attack. And you can see I offset it a little bit because once you print it to audio, you're like, you're a little bit late there. So I offset it -4 milliseconds. And I just get a really tight, almost imperceptible side chain on the 808. Because I don't want it pumping. I want the sound just like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
So we got a little percussion back here.
So much,
Yeah.
I can't even.
Yeah. Oh,
It's hard
thanks.
to like contain myself.
Yeah. I got to give credit to Lost Stories too, because they had this vibe kind of put together, and I just started adding my stuff, and they're so talented. So yeah, you have little ditties like that create a little bit of, space, and everything is like reverby and kind of in the back because we want the vocalist to be the dry thing right in front. Just get a little atmosphere. Playing with energy in a hip hop track is really interesting because you think of it as a loop, and you want the listener to more or less walk away with the impression of a loop, but in subtle ways, you're adding development. And you're doing it in like, all right, well, I'm just going to take out the hi-hats here, or slightly slower pattern here, or maybe I'll just add something that has like some space and it's not so mono like that melody, because pretty much we're sitting pretty mono here, it's like in the middle, even the hi-hats, everything. So how do we open it up?
Yeah.
And if you're really careful with what you're not giving away, you're not giving away stereo field, you're not giving away certain frequencies, like a lot of the instruments are processed in a way they've cut off the highs, then you leave a lot of room open for development where like, hey, okay, this needs to be bigger. You just have to add a little bit, just a little width, just a little high end, and all of a sudden that section feels big. And even as we go into the chorus, we've pretty much been dun, dun, da, 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 this pattern. This is our like pre-chorus. We only add one major thing, is this sustaining melody, which we kept playing before. So just to have one thing that's kind of playing a sustained melody is enough differentiation in the chorus without doing things that I would do in an EDM track where I'm adding rides and I'm adding all this white noise and everything.
Right.
You just think about, okay, like before we were doing this, but dun 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 dun, and then went dun. The other thing here I thought was interesting is this guitar. So this is my favorite for nylon guitar, which has been a staple of my music, is the Renaissance guitar. You get to do hammer-ons past a certain velocity, and just overall the vibe is quite nice. And the hammer-ons you get to set by key. So a hammer-on, for you guys, if you don't know, is when you kind of quickly do the note before, and then you go up to the target note. So if it's a C and you're in C minor, you'd really want that to be a B flat, so it's ding, kind of goes up to it. But with a lot of samplers, you just get always a minor second or a major second, but in this one, it is cognizant of your key, and it will give you the correct hammer-on. So instead of just a B natural to C, it knows you're in C minor, in this case A minor, and it will give you the one that stays in scale. So yeah, I'm a big fan of just that in the sound. And what I like to do is, first write it in one MIDI clip, but then take the different harmonies and pan them around. So you get what sounds like a double-tracked guitar, and I got like the low octave and the high octave and then the chords all separate. And it just creates a little more natural sound.
All this detail, it's intricate detail that you're going into to, create this automation with expressions and all that sort of stuff. And it's really adding to the realism and, that organic feel of the track. And it doesn't just sound electronic.
Yeah, exactly. And you can still get that feel by using samples, but when you can get pretty close and you still have control, it's the exact melody you want and everything, then that's money.
When you first played the intro of this, I thought it was samples. I didn't know you actually.
Oh yeah.
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 It was so good.
That's mostly the swam stuff.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'll play with the vocal, I guess.
Yeah.
काफी बड़ा हो गया हूँ मैं कोई परवानी मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुँह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे कदम हुए बारी काफी बड़ा हो गया हूँ मैं कोई परवानी मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुँह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे कदम हुए बारी भेजा गरम हुआ तो फिर पेजों को मैं भरूं जलते हैं साले बड़े स्टेजों पे मैं चढ़ूं ना भेजूं लड़के बिना भोले भस्म करूं इंसान हो या जानवर मैं भोले पसंद करूं मैं चिल करता दिखूं इन्हें बड़े से मकान में बनाता नहीं मैं 92 है गुदम मेरी जान में छेड़ता मैं रहता इन बालकों को जान के ऊपर वालों से होती है बातें आसमान में तो मुंह में क्यों लगूं क्यों करूं इन्हें अमर स्कॉर्पियो ये लड़के और भाई तेरा हमर जोर से तू कश मार कस ले तू कमर कश्मीर मेरे साथ इंटरनेशनल पकड़ ये बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवानी मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे कदम हुए बारी काफी बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवानी मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे कदम हुए बारी
So you might notice that down here.
Wait.
Oh, you want me to keep
Just
going?
react to that for a second. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was so good. And the vocals and just like the script.
Yeah.
I want to say script just
Yeah.
because like now I'm looking at it as a movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so awesome.
Yeah.
That was incredible. Wow.
Awesome.
I love
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, he killed it. Harjas is the vocalist. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have like a rough version of the beat and then his vocal, starting with, this little intro part.
पर बुरों को सताया हमने आजकल उनका भी खुल रहा है मुंह
And I wanted to match the vibe of like the old vintage sample like you guys thought it was.
Yeah.
So I put some Butch Vig vocals on there, compressed the hell out of it, ran it through the CLA 76, and did that in parallel so you get this, just this kind of like bed that makes sure that the vocal never gets too low in volume. So he's sitting on sort of a super squash bed. And then the RC20, of course, the good old RC20, and then just a little bit of reverb.
आजकल उनका भी खुल रहा है मुंह जिनको बोलना सिखाया हमने कभी किसी का बुरा नहीं करा पर बुरों को सताया हमने काफी बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवानी मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे कदम हुए बारी काफी बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवानी
So here I'm just running a little bit of tune because there is some, melody in this, in the chorus, and just a little bit of EQ, giving it like a little boost on the highs, some compression, getting the 76 in parallel. And then Echo Boy I've been really liking for the delays because it gives you a lot of nice options for coloring the delay. It gives you this nice option to do a little Haas effect with the left-to-right offset. And this one, I feel like a lot of people overlook this, but sometimes a delay I feel is more natural when it's just slightly to the right. It sounds like a little bit less robotic. I didn't do it here, but oftentimes I'll play with this to just get a little bit over to the right.
Okay.
Yeah. And these are the backup vocals. And you can see that they're frozen. The reason that they're frozen is because I not only melodined, but I used Vocaline, which allows you to get all of the backup vocals to match up perfectly. The little, all these little random things that once they start getting off, just sounds a little bit messy, especially with a rap song when there's so many syllables happening so quickly. And then because I'm so anal retentive, I'm also here chopping the hell out of it and crossfading. So yeah, I'll just chop it up, match as much as I can. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just don't want it to sound like the left and the right or just a little bit off. Kind of drives me crazy. And then the verse, it's just about the same chain. And over here on the ad-libs, I'm doing some Butch Vig and a whole bunch of delay and some reverb, Valhalla plate. So I'm always grouping effects like this, and I'll have my chain, which is really just the dry, and then some echo throws that, using that same utility for a little bit of gain here and there to change at certain points when I don't think there should be as much echo, when there should be more echo, etc. And then, also playing with the volume of these ad-libs. So I'm doing a lot of little, just to make sure that there's not too many harsh, because he screamed a lot of stuff in the back. He just went through the whole thing yelling stuff. So, some of it needs to be a little more stuff. I think really the pro move I've learned over time is just automation. It's not about finding a delay effect that is always going to work, but rather one that's going to emphasize certain parts. So in this verse, for instance, I have this delay. So I'm using the utility, just fade it up in certain parts. And it's just too much to try to find a one-size-fits-all. And you're also missing an opportunity to add emphasis and add, this dynamic feel where some things are, big and some things are a little bit tighter. But it's a pretty simple look. It's like 2-3 layers on the chorus and 2 layers on the verse. So life is easy when it's like that.
You make it look easy.
I know. I was just gonna say that you make it look super easy.
Yeah, but this is a fairly simple. Even you have to agree.
This is doable.
Yeah.
This is doable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that vocal chain. I'm so curious all the time to see what people are doing to process the vocals and the ad-libs and stuff.
Ad-libs are an interesting one because you want it to be different and you don't want to confuse the lead vocal with those. So you end up putting space on it and stuff, but how much space do you put? And you could distort it, and a lot of people like to do the telephone effect, but you don't want it to be harsh. So ad-libs are one of the trickier things to get right, actually. Yeah.
आजकल उनका भी खुल रहा है मुंह जिनको बोलना सिखाया हमने कभी किसी का बुरा नहीं करा पर बुरों को सताया हमने काफी बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवाह नहीं मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे करम हुए भाई काफी बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवाह नहीं मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे करम हुए भाई भेजा गरम हुआ तो फिर पेजों को मैं भरूं जलते हैं साले बड़े स्टेजों पे मैं चढ़ूं ना भेजूं लड़के बिना भोले भस्म करूं इंसान हो या जानवर मैं भोले पसंद करूं मैं चिल करता दिखूं इन्हें बड़े से मकान में बनाता नहीं मैं बानवे है गुदम मेरी जान में छेड़ता मैं रहता इन बालकों को जान के ऊपर वालों से होती है बातें आसमान में तो मुंह मैं क्यों लगूं क्यों करूं इन्हें अमर स्कॉर्पियो ये लड़के और भाई तेरा हमर जोर से तू कश मार कस ले तू कमर कश्मीर मेरे साथ इंटरनेशनल पकड़ बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवाह नहीं मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे करम हुए भाई काफी बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवाह नहीं मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे करम हुए भाई स्टार हूं मैं तेरे लिए तारे न लाऊं मेरी चांद तक क्या पहुंच तू मैं कैसे बताऊं इन्हें पता मेरा काम फिर मैं क्यों ही जताऊं गैंग गैंग छोड़ी खुद से ही मिलने लगाऊं सारे यार तक पास रखा राज मैंने पास में भूल गया पास लिखूं आज इतिहास ढूंढता हूं मोक्ष मुझे मिल जाए काश बना सबका गुरु क्योंकि गुरु का मैं दास मेरे पैर मत छू मुझे गले से लगा तेरी हाइप उड़ जाएगी जब चलेगी हवा हूं मैं कौन शायद तुझे नहीं पता सोने चांदी के नीचे नहीं पर है कीमती गल्ला काफी बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवाह नहीं मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे करम हुए भाई काफी बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवाह नहीं मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे करम हुए भाई काफी बड़ा हो गया हूं मैं कोई परवाह नहीं मारी कली देखी तेरी नारी मेरी अड़गी करारी इन्हें लगता मैं मुंह मेरी गलती है सारी जिंदगी ने तेरी मारी तेरे करम हुए भाई
I love it.
So good.
Amazing.
And it's so catchy. You immediately know the song.
Yeah, he killed it with that chorus.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really a vibe.
I love this.
Cool. Awesome, man.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for watching, and don't miss my full interview with Kashmir to learn how he started and the moves he made to find his success. Watch it right here. Make the music you love. See you in the next video.